A very good morning, team. EuroUSD continued to push down lower yesterday, but has rebounded slightly over the Asian session. Furthermore, this morning, pound data came in extremely weak, with GDP growth again declining in May, causing the pound to sell off this morning. Good morning, guys. My name is Fabio, and as always, we're diving into the major dollar pairs and, of course, gold. Now, starting off here with EuroUSD, we can clearly see that the overall 4-hour order flow continues to push the market down lower and lower. Simply said, every single time you see a buy before a sell, like over here, you can see the market retraces, pushes back down. Again here, buy before the sell down, retraces, pushes back down. And here, once again, buy before the sell, pushes in, pushes back down, and even here as well. So at this point in time, this is currently your buy before the sell that is in control and which has again pushed the market down lower. Now for EURUSD here on the daily time frame, we can very clearly see that the overall retracement is happening, but very, very slowly. This is because next week we have extremely important inflation numbers coming out, and Jerome Powell has repeatedly said that they will be waiting for this data before making any further decisions on interest rates, and that is currently causing the overall price of EURUSD to be very consolidative. Now overall, again, looking at here the daily time frame, we can still clearly see that we are bullish here on EURUSD, with the overall swing still being this big impulse up. Here we have the break of structure, and from a fractal perspective, this is the fractal low, this is the fractal high. Now from the fractal structure perspective, we are starting to retrace deeper and deeper, but still not as deep as into the 0.5 fib. Now you guys know, preferably I would want to see retracement in towards this overall demand zone before looking for that next upside push, or obviously even deeper in towards that daily 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level. But it doesn't always need to happen, because if momentum is high, right, we can just continue pushing and pushing. Now, when can we understand that the momentum is high, and when can we then potentially gain an entry? Well, you would need to wait for the 4-hour time frame confirmation. At this point in time, obviously we are bearish here on the immediate intraday time frame, being the 4/1 hour time frame. And if you were to be looking for longs, you would need to wait for the current fractal high to break, then the retest of the demand zone, and then you could look at a potential long opportunity. Until then, for now, this area of refined demand still remains open. And that would kind of like be the next pit stop for EURUSD until we break that current fractal high. Because once that current fractal high breaks, then you can look for longs. But until then, mainly just focus on those short positions. Now, personally, I'm not a very big fan of the current sell-off that happened last night. Obviously, we kind of have like the imbalance over here, which pushed the market down lower, as this imbalance candle here acted as an area of supply. But in the overall push down, there was no real liquidity. Therefore, I would preferably want to see another liquidation of this high today, and then potentially the real sell-off happening. And then once we break the 4-hour fractal high, then obviously I won't be looking at shorts anymore. But as long as that 4-hour fractal high is respected, and we, for example, grab liquidity above this high, then I'll just wait for the 1-hour change of character to happen, because then you could look at new potential shorts. Going into the dollar index, however, we need to keep an eye out, because we are nearing a potential sell-off here on the dollar index. We can clearly see that from a, let's say, 4-hour swing perspective. That's the easiest way to explain it, as here we had a break of structure in towards the downside, swing high, swing low, and the market has been following the overall order flow in towards the upside. But what is now happening is that we are squeezing in towards this area of supply. We're rejecting the 0.5 fib. So there is potential for a sell-off here on the dollar index. So keep that in mind. Now, the real sell-off on the dollar index could continue if we were to break the current fractal low here on the daily time frame. Then I would have more conviction in those potential sells. But already you could look at potential sells once the 4-hour fractal low were to break over here. Keep an eye on that, and then we could see maybe a deeper correction here on the dollar index. Let's see how today closes. If today closes very, very strong and above, let's say, this overall imbalance candle, then that could be acting as an area of demand in towards next week to push price up higher in towards this overall buy before the sell. If we today sell off hard on the dollar index, break the current fractal low, then next week I'll be looking for maybe another sweep of the lows again. Going into AUD/USD. AUD/USD has been holding the strongest pretty much this week out of all major G10 pairs, or whatever you want to call it, as we can see. So just the major dollar pairs. You can see that we've been buying up again. Again, clearly, I've been saying this pretty much since the beginning of the week. Australian dollar is strong due to those interest rate cuts not taking place. Overall, from a fib perspective, pretty much retraced into 0.5 fib. Now, the only bad confluence was obviously this supply zone. However, from a 4-hour perspective, we could clearly see that the 4-hour Fibonacci, like the 4-hour fractal break, happened over here. This is the demand, and then that pushed the market up higher. So obviously we were kind of like looking for that overall upside continuation, with the Australian dollar still being strong. So nice price action from AUD/USD, and I would only be looking for those further buys until we eventually take out the overall swing high, which is positioned over here. That's kind of like my next target for AU at the moment. Going into GBPUSD, we can see that GU itself has sold off this morning. Main reason for it has obviously been the pound news, which came out. It started to retrace again. But overall, from a daily perspective, again, guys, a very clean price action for those shorts to happen. From a kind of like market structure or price perspective, we saw the overextended leg up, then we saw the one high, the second high, and then the third high, and then the overall sell-off in towards the downside with that daily change of character taking place over here. You then form kind of like a daily supply zone, obviously on the buy before the sell. We tap into that daily supply zone, and then from there we start selling off again. So some nice price action there on on GBPUSD, and next up is pretty much this area of demand for GU, from where I would be happy to look for potential longs again. So yeah, would wait for that daily area of demand to hit before really looking at buying GU myself. For now, the overall order flow also remains bearish in line with the daily fractals. So the daily fractal is bearish, and the daily kind of like buy before the sells are also acting as order flow, pushing the market down lower and lower. Again, here buy before the sell, pushing the market down lower. Again, here buy before the sell, again pushing the market down lower. So yeah, for myself, I would only really be looking for a reversal from that area of demand on GU, and for now, just looking for immediate kind of like further downside continuation. Maybe today we'll grab some more liquidity, maybe above these descending highs, before really kind of like seeing a sell-off again, or maybe even up higher and then a sell-off. I'll be keeping my eyes open for now, but it also depends on what the dollar index does. Then going into NZD/USD, NZD/USD had a very nice rally yesterday. I was in longs, and I still think that longs are a good play here on this pair. NZD remains strong in line with the Australian dollar. Australian dollar strength kind of like resonates with the New Zealand dollar strength. New Zealand dollar also strong due to no interest rate cuts happening this week. Overall, from a daily fractal perspective, bullish between the current fractal low and the current fractal high. Now, obviously, we can see we make the 0.5 fib retracement, go down into the 4-hour time frame, and then obviously again we had these ascending lows get taken out. We hit a key level of support, market starts chopping there, and then here we had the 4-hour fractal break. Obviously it happened back in towards the downside, but now again it happened in towards the upside. This is now the imbalance, and this should push the market up higher to take out eventually these descending highs. And then if the dollar sells off, this NZD/USD should fly. So keep an eye on the dollar index. That could kind of like give confirmation entry for NZD/USD. And then of course we have USD Swiss, USD yen, and gold. USD Swiss still looking for sells. Again, it started to sell off this morning with that dollar weakness that we discussed at the 0.5 fib. Overall, from a daily perspective, it still looks good to sell off within this daily imbalance. So it still makes sense to, again, look for those sells. You can see that the monthly, or excuse me, the daily fractal is bearish, and that we rejected the monthly open, which is a natural area of support and resistance. So that's why I really like using these open indicators. The only thing here now on the 4-hour time frame is that the 4-hour fractal structure is bearish. So it's a little bit messy at the moment on USD Swiss, so not the cleanest. But I mean, if you follow the daily fractals then and the daily supply and the daily momentum, then it should continue to sell off. So keep your eyes open on USD Swiss. Go into USD JPY. USD JPY obviously pushed up higher again. It's kind of like what I said, the yen is very weak, and any kind of like dollar impulse can kind of like, again, take you out. Not a big fan of trading USD yen at the moment. I would really prefer to trade USD Swiss, just because of the consolidative nature of USD yen. Yes, we're currently inside for our supply, but then again, you've broken the fractal high. So yeah, not a big fan of shorting USD yen. For now, momentum remains up, and this is now the demand that is in control. And then if we go into gold, for gold, we've seen a strong rebound. Again, looking for that further upside. This morning, again, we've been buying up on gold. So I'll be continuously looking still for those buys, as I've been mentioning every single day since the beginning of the week, pretty much. But especially since Wednesday, we can see that rebound has happened. Again, I repeat this daily analysis, but we have an area of demand. We have the liquidity low. We have the daily change of character. We're bullish from a swing structure perspective. We're bullish from a daily fractal perspective. So yeah, for me, shorts just really don't make any sense. So I'll just be continuously looking to look for, or just continuously start looking for buys. As you can see, pretty much the arrow again played out, which I highlighted in yesterday's live stream. So I would continue looking for buys. Yesterday we had a lot of ascending lows again here, and we start to take out some of the lows or half of the lows, and then from there we reverse back up higher. Now again today I'll just be looking for upside continuation here on gold, back up into an all-time high, kind of following what the chart of Bitcoin has been doing as well. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Any questions, let me know, and see you soon.